Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational investment, and project development real estate. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
You're listening to or watching Nonpartisan Hacks, the policy and politics podcast about good government from the local level on up. I'm Joel Grenz, a City of Parksville councillor.
And I'm Sean Wood, also City of Parksville councillor and mayoral candidate for 2026.
2026. Mm-hmm. So we are doing a new thing today. You may be watching us. If you are, you may be watching us on YouTube and maybe Facebook. We are doing a video podcast for the first time ever. Sean, are you prepared emotionally?
No, not prepared emotionally. Pretty fun. Obviously, Joel, you and I have thought about this for a while. It's really nice to have, video material for, putting it on social media. It's kind of like the next level up for us, and I really appreciate the work that you put into setting up cameras and lighting and all that stuff for us. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you. I think maybe some people will be surprised if they watch the video for the first time, maybe have been listening to us, are surprised to see that we're not cartoon characters.
We're actually real life. This is us. Hi, everybody. Hi, Mom. And yes, my mom does listen to the podcast and now watch the podcast.
Yeah, maybe AI faces. Hopefully not. Maybe in a couple of weeks. So today we're going to talk about a couple things. One is that, yes, video is the new thing for us.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that we also have a new feature up on our website that, video isn't cheap. And Sean has been saying that we need to get some monetization going. And so, folks, if you want to support the podcast, you can log into nonpartisanhacks.com. We've got a new feature up there that lets you buy us a coffee. This is not a sponsor yet. Buy us a coffee, help support the podcast. You can either go to the main contribute page and provide a couple bucks there, or if there's a specific episode that you really like and you want to give money to that episode, we will use that money to promote that episode only.
Oh, that's cool.
On the socials, yeah. So you can go to the specific page for that episode and say, wow, I think more people need to learn about this topic or whatever. Mm-hmm. We will take the money from that donation and feed it into ads that will promote that episode.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is this using that special tool that you made?
Well, thanks for asking, Sean. We've got a new tool on the website. It's a plugin for WordPress called Giver Lever, and it's actually a multi-purpose tool that would allow nonprofits, podcasts, people like us, if you're a content creator like us, if you're a nonprofit organization, or if you're running for office and want to take donations, there are some really cool features on it. First of all, you can do the usual thing about one-time versus monthly donation. Sure. If you're doing a political fundraising thing, the tool will actually limit you to the provincial limit for the amount you can donate per year. Automatically. Okay. And it'll track that so that you can then do your tax receipt stuff or whatever seating you need to do. Local government, we don't give out tax receipts. Yeah. But we do need to keep track of the finances, and it'll allow you to do that.
Sure.
And it will take a credit card. It'll take e-transfer.
Sure.
It'll take check. And lets you manage your finances a little bit more efficiently. And a lot of people are using WordPress websites, so it just plugs in right there. So
obviously, it takes all the information from the donor so that you have all of that information for your books, obviously.
That's right. So that you have good, clean books for Elections BC.
Sure.
And so it's a handy plugin to use. And so that's our plug for the plugin. Go to leverup.ca. There you go, leverup.ca.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Leverup.ca.
Yeah. Giver Lever plugin, and there are a couple other related plugins. A tender lever for events.
Sure.
And endorser lever for endorsements.
Sure. And I don't know anything about the market for these things, but obviously you felt like there was a little bit of a gap for kind of an easy plugin to collect the donations.
Yeah, for sure. And especially BC. So how do you actually track the donation limits for BC?
Sure.
Any kind of donation plugin, you need some additional capabilities to be able to do that.
Sure.
And that's what this plugin does for you. You can just set the donation limit for the year in the plugin settings, and that'll save you having to deal with that kind of stuff.
Very cool. So you're kind of combining your experience in the political world, helping parties and kind of being staff for parties on the technical side of things and the marketing side of things with your own experience in local government. and probably some new coding materials so that you can get this thing out the door, and it can be a pretty cool plugin for anyone running at the local government level or even provincial government level here in BC.
Or even federal, like any one of those elections might be happening in BC
right on.
Very soon. So yeah, it's something that we use my day job at my agency. It's something my agency built, and we use that for some of our client work.
Sure.
We work with a lot of nonprofits as well as with some
Very cool.
Elected folks. So
what's the URL again? The domain name?
Yeah, leverup.ca.
Leverup.ca, right
There
on.
you go. Yeah. So speaking of no, that was not. We're not speaking of anything related. So there's no
tangent.
There's no completely different topic now. Is today we are going to be talking about Sean's journey of getting actually something into the budget, into the provincial budget. This, like just a couple of weeks ago, I guess, or was that last week?
Yeah. I don't know. Tuesday of last week. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the question is what is it that you got into the provincial budget? And then we'll kind of backtrack a bit to how you got it in there.
Sure. So one of the silver linings in the provincial budget, Joel Grenz, was an increase to the volunteer first responder tax credit here in BC. And that's a lot of words to describe a little bit more of a thank you on the tax side of things to volunteer first responders here in BC, which include firefighters, which includes land search and rescue, and also includes Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue. All of those people are covered in the CRA, in the federal tax code, to get a little bit money back. It's actually not a refundable tax credit. They just don't have to submit as much to the government with this existing tax credit.
I'm not an accountant here.
Yeah,
You're getting really into the weeds on this one.
Yeah. Well, non-refundable means that the government doesn't pay you the money back. It's just a little less that you have to give to the government.
So you can deduct from your income.
That's right.
And folks that do volunteer in the fire department or search and rescue, they would generally have a day job.
Yeah.
And so this will allow them to save a little bit of tax on their income, brings their income down a little bit.
Yeah.
As compensation. They're not getting maybe paid to do this service in the community, so at least they get a bit of a tax credit.
Yeah. So to start at the beginning, when my wife and I moved to Parksville, I was jogging past the fire hall here in Parksville, and I didn't even know if it's a volunteer fire department. I had no knowledge of fire departments at all. The bay door was up, and I was just jogging by and stopped in and talked to a guy, and like, how does it work to join you guys or kind of get involved? And he's like, well, come on by and talk with the chief. And so I did that, and I ended up volunteering there for 5 years altogether. But doing that, I quickly found out how much time and effort it takes for a volunteer firefighter to keep themselves up to specific safety recommendations, safety code, training standards, how much time it takes for calls. Your pager goes off in the middle of the night. Pager goes off during turkey dinner at Christmas time. And it's a lot of time and effort. And since it's volunteer for more of the rural communities in Canada and in BC, you really aren't compensated at all, which is understandable. But after that experience, I was deciding whether or not to run federally. And one of the things that I decided, I had kind of a week to really commit or not to running federally, which was a huge jump because I hadn't done anything in politics yet. And I told myself, if I could increase the current volunteer first responder tax credit federally from $3,000 to $10,000. If that was the one thing I got elected, and if that was the one thing I could do, because I know it's hard to do things, especially on a federal level, then I think it's worth it. And so I committed and I ran federally. I lost to our current MP, Gord Johns. And I worked with him. He heard me say it over and over during the campaign. And he said, Sean, why don't you come in and we'll talk about it? And so I came into his office, chatted with him, brought him up to speed on, the current existing tax credit. We started a couple of petitions. He started running with it on his end of things. I kept running with it on my end of things through the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was elected to local government, and I got on committees for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, where I also brought a resolution to FCM. And FCM was running with it, Gord's running with it, Canadian Associations of Fire Chiefs is running with it. advocacy has to run in a bunch of different ways. Don't say no to any channel when you're advocating on anything. Like, you attack it from as many channels as you can, as respectfully as possible.
I think you got a tattoo as well.
I didn't get a tattoo. I didn't get a tattoo. And so it passed at the federal level, which was huge. And thank you, Gord, for doing that. Team effort, Canadian Association of fire chiefs across the whole country. There were letters getting sent in from departments. And so it was a very big deal. The feds didn't increase it from $3,000 to $10,000, but they did double it from $3,000 to $6,000.
Okay, and that timeline-wise, so you ran in 2019.
That's correct.
And you were in a volunteer firefighter before that.
Yes.
Obviously. And then the budget for the federal government incorporated this new credit, and that was 2025 budget.
I want to say 2024 budget. I want to say 2024. It was during
your
budget.
term on council.
It was, yep.
Which has been a blur for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
So the years are kind of jumping all over the place in my mind. But yeah, 2024, maybe 2025.
Yeah.
So basically, from 2019. Took several years to get that to the federal site, but then actually from federal to provincial was much quicker.
Yeah. So once we could kind of change the, that affected almost 180,000 volunteer first responders across Canada, but BC also had it on their tax code provincially, and it was still sitting at that $3,000 mark. And so once the feds doubled it, it kind of made our advocacy here in the province, which we also wanted to see match the feds. It made it a little bit easier because, hey, the feds already did it. We'd love BC to do it as well. And so I was on the UBCM board, which is more of a provincial organization. And I also put a motion through on the floor and kind of bumped it ahead on the agenda and had to talk to Pete Fry, who's
separate podcast
the chair
about
of
your
the resolutions committee.
Not
shenanigans. It's all above board.
Procedurally okay.
Procedurally okay, but it can be risky because you're adjusting the agenda in front of thousands of delegates because you think your thing is more important. Anyways, that passed unanimously, I would argue. And so then you have UBCM advocating to the province. I'm advocating to our MLA. Our MLA is advocating to the Minister of Finance. And all of that culminated in a week and a half ago for the province to add it to this budget. It's a very small item. It might be working out to maybe $1.5 or $2.5 million on a provincial scale. It's very small. But it's more of a token thank you, a little bit less money from all the volunteer first responders in the province go to their taxes. And so it was a nice win for our MLA, for the Minister of Finance, for the Premier. It's a tiny thank you that anyone who is in a more urban setting, this is not hitting home for you. You're like, whatever, we pay our firefighters. But your search and rescue are still volunteer. Your Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue are still volunteer. And you depend on those people. North Shore Search and Rescue are like famous because they have a TV show, but search and rescue across the entire province and the country. When you are lost in the woods and you are not prepared to be out there, that call goes out, and there's going to be some good people that come and give you a hand. So, there's a huge thank you to our MLA and to the Minister of Finance and to the Premier and to Gord Johns, of course, who helped on the federal side of things. And this is just a little bit of a silver lining in the budget that we saw here in BC.
Silver lining? What? Okay. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but okay. So a few things to touch on there, and we'll definitely get into maybe the urban-rural difference on some of these things. But
sure.
I'd be interested to hear a bit about some of the anecdotes around getting this passed provincially. I do recall we were at an event for UBCM in Victoria, and UBCM, the convention, UBCM convention, is an opportunity for local government people to interact quite a bit with provincial government folks. It's a big convention. It happens every year. And it's a real great opportunity for local government to advocate for their issues to the provincial government. And we're at like a reception at that, and lo and behold, the Minister of Finance is sitting there in the reception, and it's a great opportunity to chat with her and bring up the topic. I think you took advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah, she sat down right beside me, and I had never met her before, and I said, "Hey, Minister Bailey, I'm Sean Wood. I'm a councillor in Parksville. I can't let you sit down beside me without mentioning that I would love to see the provincial tax credit for volunteer first responders increase." And she's
I have
like,
a tattoo about it.
I don't have a tattoo. I mean, about that, I don't have a tattoo.
First responders tax credit.
Yeah. And so, to our MLA Stephanie Higginson's credit, Minister Bailey had already known about it, and she said our MLA is doing a fantastic job at letting her know about it. And I said, that's great to know. And I didn't really push it too hard. I said, Minister Bailey, I don't envy your job at all. You have a very difficult job. And so kind of a little bit of relationship building, you don't push too hard. It's, just kind of as casual chatting as possible. And she appreciated the conversation, I think. And, I don't know how much that conversation had on it. When you're doing advocacy on a big item and you're attacking it from a bunch of different angles, you're not sure what actually landed the most or got the most traction, and it doesn't really matter. You just do it as respectfully as possible from a lot of different angles and keep hammering away on it, and you might see some good results. And that conversation was just one of the many ways that we were advocating for that. And thank you to the minister and the premier and our MLA for getting it in there.
Yeah, and this also resulted in you taking a trip down to Victoria to participate in the actual unveiling of the budget.
Yeah.
And so maybe tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, our MLA Stephanie Higginson texted me. She's like, "Hey, Sean, would you be up for coming down for the budget?" I said, "Sure, that would be amazing." And she's like, "I can't really tell you what it's about, but we'd love to have you down." I said, "Absolutely, sign me up." And so I headed down there, and I had lunch with our MLA and some other MLAs and Gord Johns, our MP, and the RDN chair, Stuart McLean.
Regional district
chair. Yep. And then we were in the chambers for the budget, and so that was interesting to watch. The budget day starts off with a lockup, they call it, from 8 a.m. to maybe 1 or 2 p.m., where reporters and some other special guests are actually locked in a room. And in the old days, Joel Grenz, I think they weren't allowed to bring their phones or any communication devices in. Now I think they might be allowed, but
this is like an escape room then, so they have to figure out the clues in order to get out.
I don't know what they're figuring out for clues, but the idea is that they get to go through the budget before it's actually made public. And so they really want the communication devices to be on the down low, because you might see money going towards something in the budget or being retracted from something in the budget that could affect markets or could affect real estate or whatever it is. And so they actually want to keep it a little bit on the down low, because that could affect other things in the big outside
reporters
world.
Might want to sort of scoop something. And
yes, they definitely want to scoop stuff.
Get it out there first.
So, and Corey Ramsey, who is president of the Union of BC Municipalities, she was in the lockup, so that was cool. I saw her afterwards. And then after that lockup, then you have the Minister of Finance present to the legislature in her speech. They don't go into a ton of detail, really. They're mostly hinting at the directions that we're going to see in the budget. And then by that time, the budget is actually out. Opposition has had time to go through it. And then opposition obviously speaks to the minister and the government after her speech.
And opposition's in the lockout as well. They have a representative.
I believe so.
Yeah, so I think they're the opposition finance critic, shadow minister for finance.
Yeah.
Gets to be in the lockup.
Mm-hmm.
They get briefed on the budget, just like the various other reporters and whatever else gets briefed on the budget before it comes out and before the news spreads and all that stuff.
It's actually the first time that the shadow minister of finance would have seen it. This is, they have not been involved in any conversations. And from my understanding, it's mainly the Ministry of Finance and the Premier's office that make most of the decisions that are in that budget. The Treasury Board makes recommendations, kind of like a committee would make recommendations, from my understanding, is kind of the inner workings of it, to the Ministry of Finance and to the Premier's office, where those final decisions about the budget are actually made. That's kind of off the record and just kind of what I've been picking up the entire time, but I found that interesting. You might think the Treasury Board is actually making those decisions, but they make recommendations to Ministry of Finance and to the Premier's office, from my understanding. So, Premier and Minister, if you can feel free to correct us, and we'll have you on the show. But that's from my understanding.
Well, and a friend of the pod, George Anderson.
Yes,
he MLA for Nanaimo, Lanceville.
That's right.
Is has been on the Nonpartisan Hacks, and he sits on Treasury Board as well. So that's an example. There's MLAs from across the province that sit on the Treasury Board. Actually, another friend of the pod, Michelle Stilwell, sat on Treasury Board. That's so these are people that got elected to be an MLA, and then they sit on Treasury and provide, I guess, just recommendations on what should go in the budget.
From my understanding,
what spending priorities will be put forward as recommended spending priorities. And this budget, silver lining. We are seeing significant deficits in budgets. So we've got a very large deficit in this budget. We just had the Alberta budget come out, also has significant deficit to it. So the impacts on local government are definitely there because we're not getting maybe the kind of funding from the provincial government down to the local government or their additional taxation measures on local government. That's something we'll maybe get into potentially in another podcast, although it's been spoken about a lot in the media, so there's plenty of content out there if you wanted to speak about budget stuff. But I did want to touch a little bit about the tax credit piece and the urban-rural difference on some of this, because folks who live in urban areas may not understand that in rural areas where there's a much smaller tax base, you have to rely a lot more on volunteers to get things done, as opposed to hiring people to do things. In Parksville, we're kind of like a medium-ish sized community. We're not as small as, say, Sayward or there's some very small communities that we run into at AVICC or UBCM who have maybe a few hundred people in their town. And there's definitely, you're wearing a lot of hats when you're in local government. You're doing maybe going from council meeting to trimming the hedges or something. But for firefighters, there's very few communities that are very small that would have any kind of paid staff in the fire department. And so that's where this tax credit is critical. It's just another way to make having the volunteer fire department stay volunteer for as long as possible, because once it becomes a fully paid staff, that gets very expensive and ends up being one of the most expensive line items for a local government, as we see with police being a very significant expense for local governments. And that's money that's coming from property taxes that pays for that function, which property taxes also need to pay for very critical functions of water, sewer, roads, all those hard assets. And so paying for policing and fire is an expense you want to keep low for as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, you're kind of holding back the tide. For City of Parksville right now, we're sitting at about 15,000 people. Back in the day, Doug Banks, as a fire chief, he was our first paid fire chief, paid half-time. And so, he would be a volunteer chief over volunteer fire department, firefighters and trucks that have, you have very little budget for apparatus. And then the city had to make a decision. Look, we are getting this many calls, and let's start paying the fire chief half-time. And that's how it starts. A lot of BC is electoral areas. They're all volunteer fire departments for electoral areas. Sayward is a municipality for the time being. I'm not sure what they pay their fire chief. Maybe it's a half-time paid fire chief or something. But you're really holding back the tide. A full-time firefighter can be anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 each, with benefits all wrapped up in that.
And that's not including what you would have to pay for any firefighter, volunteer or otherwise, for training and equipment and all the additional
All on
costs.
top.
It's very costly to just for that one firefighter to be available to the community.
Yeah, and once insurance is in there and safety standards and training standards come in, which everyone has to kind of stay up to, that all costs for training, and it just gets very more and more expensive. Even here in city of Parksville, a lot of people don't know that most of our fire department is volunteer. They just see the red truck pulls up, with like a nice 6 or 7 minute response time for the first truck. Great. They kind of assume that everyone gets paid. We have a bit of a hybrid paid on call system here now in the city of Parksville, which is kind of the next step up, and you just kind of hold back the tide and try to retain your volunteers as much as you can before you have to keep hiring and hiring and hiring. And it's kind of just the evolution of kind of growth in the economy is what we see.
Yeah, and maybe a little shout out to our firefighters here in Parksville who do an amazing job.
Absolutely.
And I hear community feedback all the time about how they respond so quickly, are very professional, do work very, very hard to help folks that are in need of the fire department. So they come at the drop of a hat. They wear pagers all the time. And so they need to be ready. If something happens, the call comes, they are gearing up and arriving at your door within minutes often, which is amazing, and we benefit so greatly from that, especially the volunteer aspect. Being a community with a smaller tax base, we do rely on the fact that we have volunteer fire department as opposed to the paid one. So I think congratulations to you on getting this tax credit.
Teamwork makes the dream work, for sure. It wasn't just me, but I've learned a lot through the process, and happy to be a part of seeing that come to fruition, for sure.
Yeah, and I hope for folks listening / watching, gives a little bit of a sense of what it takes to get something through advocacy. And advocacy is something we talk about quite a bit on the podcast because it's something that we do quite a bit.
Yeah, advocacy is like getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And that's like the overarching lesson for me in this whole thing is advocacy and how you kind of get stuff done. You got to, pull this lever over here and build this relationship over here and be respectful the entire time, and don't let any stone go unturned, sort of thing.
Yeah, tattoo.
Yeah. I don't have a tattoo about it. I do have a tattoo, but I mean, it's not about that.
Well, maybe you should get one now to celebrate.
I guess I could. You're really pushing this. It'd be a little weird. Show it on our new video podcast, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thanks so much for listening or watching today. If you're interested in getting in touch with us, we do love it to hear from folks. Sean, we've heard from folks via different channels, including Instagram Messenger recently. People mentioned the shows they listen to and feedback. We very much appreciate that. Let's all learn together.
Absolutely.
So nonpartisanhacks.com.
Yeah. And you might as well talk about the donation.
Oh, yeah. And then the leverup.ca.
Yeah, right on.
2 websites to go to from this podcast. Folks, thanks for listening. And until next time,
take care of yourself and your community. Thanks very much, everybody.
Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.